Welcome back to Soul Strippers. We're talking about the coronavirus stimulus and how it's unfair to the sex industries, what we need to learn from it to evolve, heal, and have fairness between all industries, regardless of what they're related to. So, sex workers have been denied stimulus benefits, which it's totally unfair. If you're paying taxes, and you should be receiving the same benefits as all the other industries. And Jacqueline Francis, who is a stripper, comedian, and author, told HuffPost, is so dehumanizing. They're asking all of us who work legally to feel ashamed about what we do. This is the narcissist's job in this world. They're asking you to feel ashamed about who you are at your core or what you're doing, or say that you are less than. I am better than you. And it's up to us as people in this world, no matter what role you're taking, if you are a stripper or you are someone who's not a stripper but is looking at strippers in a dehumanizing way, is to say we are all equal. We all have equal rights. We are all humans. And strippers can be treated in the most terrible ways. Like they just don't even they're just not even people. Like there's something you would find under your shoe because that's what they do. And it's completely unfair in so many levels. And all the people that are involved in these situations are placed in a spiritual test. Because if you are a stripper and you feel dehumanized because of what you do, then you need to heal and evolve and become healthy and whole and release any shame that they are triggering you, any idea that you're less than. No one can make you less than. No one can take that power from you. You have to put that on yourself. And we all make judgments. Everybody criticizes and critiques and picks on people's insecurities. But once you become a strong person in who you are, you decide that no one can define you. Your self love is so strong that no matter what people throw at you, it does not shake you. This is a deep level of self love, self support, and it's what we're supposed to do here on earth is self partner with ourselves and say, this is what I do, does not define me as less or more than someone else. Just because you're a politician doesn't mean that you're the greatest person on earth either. So we've got all these ideas that we need to break through with what people are and how we see them from all sides, from people that are in power to treat them differently, or from the if it's a strip joint, from the guys that go in to these establishments and feel like they can treat these women like crap because they have money and they can throw their money at them. And so there's these different ego things going on that every person has a trivial part in this whole, in this idea of separateness is an illusion. So the triggering happens saying, okay, there is a stripper who feels like she is less than or has some sort of self-esteem issues or feels ashamed about what she does. And so she attracts people back to her that make her feel that way. Nothing is chance here. Everything we are attracting based on what is inside of us. And I'm going to give you an example of this with Donald Trump and Ivana Trump. She and him have went back and forth, and they obviously, it's a narcissistic situation as well. At She has her own issues with whoring herself out to Donald Trump. And just because she's not a stripper or any of that kind of stuff, she's a beautiful woman and she's with a man with a position of power. But is she treated as less than or differently as far as benefits and what she receives from the earth? No, she's not, because that's not what's in her. She doesn't have the shame inside of her. That is, she may hate herself, but that's a whole different issue. But what's happening is she isn't getting looked down upon as these other women are, because inside of herself she doesn't look down upon herself and have that division going on. So once we can see, okay, what's our role in this? Are we the people making judgments about strippers? Are we the strippers getting judgments made upon? because all of these need to cleanse and purge themselves of these negative emotions. Are you a person that's going into a strip joint that feels like you need to pay for sexual gifts or to have sexual relationships because at your core you're not enough to attract a real, true, loving relationship, or you don't know how to have a true, loving relationship because all of this dysfunction is from people not knowing how to unconditionally love themselves, accept themselves, or to attract back to what is deeply inside of them at their core. So, the narcissistic agenda is to oppress sexuality, increase suffering, and ruin pleasure. And that's how narcissists operate. We, on the other hand, have to heal and evolve from this. So if there is someone destroying our self esteem, our femininity, or our sexuality, then we have to take control and power within ourselves that no one is in the position to do that. No one can judge us and those judgments affect us because we are solid with who we are at our core and we deserve equal treatment. The other agenda, of course, is that they are hitting the industries that are circulating the most cash and trying to completely break those apart so that they can put their new systems in place. And probably one of the things that's going to happen with cash is it's going to totally go away because of the coronavirus scare. And it's going to be considered a way to have germs be rolling around. So this is something that's been affected. The waitresses, that's a lot of tip money, entertainment, all of these things are where we can circulate more cash are getting closed down. And so we've got to understand that not only is this an energetic level where the places where people can be happy, going out to eat, going traveling, going on vacations, having these experiences. It's a place where people can get away from their own pain and their own trauma, and that's what they're taking away. But once we heal our pain and our trauma, this will all change. All of these dynamics will change because reality is always reflecting what is inside of people. And that's where we've got to get to is this choice of if we feel like we should be treated differently or we are not the same or not good enough, then we find ourselves in situations where reality says you shouldn't be treated the same. You're not good enough. And even with strippers themselves, a lot of the dynamics where they keep staying in these different relationships with using sexuality in order to have security or money or gifts is a lack of belief in themselves and whatever their spiritual gifts may be. It may be poetry and art or music or something of that nature. And at some point, this looks like the easier way out in order to get security than to step out on faith with the gifts that they have. And some of that may be that they are a part of the sexual revolution where they're teaching people to connect back to themselves and their sexuality without shame. Because there's so many body image issues right now going on. There's so much shame around our bodies, our sexuality, different sexualities that is being outplayed and needs to be addressed so that we can move into new states of being and into new states of consciousness. So anywhere that you're holding hatred or bitterness or anger or any of these negative emotions keeps coming back to you. So if you're in this position, you've got to work through these negative emotions and weaknesses and not feeling good enough or whatever it is that is inside of you. And if you are on the other end of it where you make judgments about strippers and you say that they're less than, then that's another spiritual test is deciding someone else is more or less than according to what their profession is. It's just an ego-based system. That's all it is. It's saying that one person should be treated better or worse according to what they do. And that's what everybody's doing all the time. So we've got to see through this ego evolvement and get to new places where everybody can be treated fairly. And until then, you keep attracting back to you what is inside of you. And you can change that. You can heal at a soul level. And you can be treated with equality and have all of the abundance attracted back into your life once you stop attracting what you hate, what you're bitter about, or what these weaknesses are. So the power is yours. Use it. Today is Easter, and I feel like this is a great message because it's about the resurrection. And we really got to realize that there is a reason Jesus hung out with the alcoholics, the thieves, um, the people that were considered unclean or impure. It was because they could see their weaknesses and they were looking to hide their pain in some way, or their trauma or their suffering in some way. And the people at the top, the politicians and people running the country, they didn't have issues like that. And they didn't have the same amount of heart and compassion for suffering on a huge global level or in the outside world. So they didn't have all these things going on that were triggering them that um, could be addressed. Because most likely, if you're a narcissist, you can't see what your faults or weaknesses are. And if you can't see yours, you can't unconditionally love others and hold them in forgiveness and compassion, where you know you're full of your own faults, your own mistakes, your own judgments. That's where you can have a really high vibration. So I hope that's helped you to understand what's going on with reality and how we can be such an epic part of fairness and equality between all of these paradigms. So thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great Sunday.